Welcome to Kaplan Professional Education's 5 Minutes with the Industry. I'm Victoria Papandrea, and today I'm speaking to Peter Capp from Peter Capp Associates about techniques advisors can use to handle client objections. Peter, thanks for joining me today.
Good to be here.
Peter, what may prompt a client to make an objection?
In a lot of cases, clients are seeking more information. I think psychologically, a lot of planners don't understand that people are different. When I headed up a few planning groups in the past, some of my planners would say that they treat everybody the same. Well, you can't. It's not as though you've got to act, but we have to be diverse in our behaviour. Some people want a lot of information, some don't. And we have to be aware of the different personality styles.
What are some typical client objections that an advisor may encounter?
I think fees and ongoing advice would be the major one. Also performance. Future performance, particularly been an issue recently since the global financial crisis, and of course the share market has been very, very volatile. Security, disclosure of information, issues, shares versus property, income versus growth, those sorts of issues.
Peter, what are some key mistakes an advisor may make when faced with client objections?
Well, one of the things that upsets me, and I see it quite often, is that when they get questioned about fees, the advisor will straight away say, all right, well, I can reduce them. And I mean, that just is a huge mistake, because the client's obviously thinking straight away, well, why didn't you give me those discounted fees to start with? I think another mistake is when they are confronted with a client saying, well, so-and-so down the road charges less. And my answer always to that is, what are they leaving out? And sometimes you put doubt in their minds. I think it's the value thing. Another mistake is when a client will say, look, I'm not going to sign now, I want to go away and think about it. And the advisor straight away says, yeah, that's a good idea. There is one particular group of people, the highly analytical people, who do want to go away and think about it, but before they go away, the advisor should at least question, have I covered everything? You look concerned when I was mentioning fees, you look concerned and so forth. Are you comfortable with that? So question before they allow the people to leave, but always make a second appointment once they decide to go without physically agreeing to go ahead.
Peter, can you talk about some techniques that advisors can use to manage client objections effectively?
I have a very simple one. It's AAC. You acknowledge it, answer, and then confirm. So in the acknowledging, you must perhaps sometimes restate the objection, display some empathy if that's required. But if you're to continue saying things like, I understand your concern, understand your concern, understand your concern, it becomes a bit monotonous. So things like, I appreciate your comments, I hear what you say. Gee, that's an interesting question. I've had that question before. We must make people feel comfortable raising objections, because they're the little things that get in the way of the sale and people seeking more information. So then you acknowledge it nicely and display empathy, then you answer, and the secret with the answer is to make it short, sharp and succinct, clear. No one likes people waffling, and I think if you waffle for too long, clients will think you're covering something up or you don't know how to handle the objection. So the link would be, look, I appreciate your comments, however, what we have found is, and then you go in a little bit more detail with that, but again, keeping it short, sharp and succinct. And then the C of the AAC is to confirm. A lot of mistakes are made by saying things like, does that answer it? And I mean, that's a very abrupt way of handling an objection or a difficult question. I always say, have I made that clearer? Have I answered that for you? Are there any other queries you might have with this particular thing? If they aren't happy, you then have to go back and perhaps manage it differently, using different words, whatever. But once they've agreed that, yes, you've overcome that objection, then you should move on with enthusiasm.
Peter, do you have any final tips for advisors to keep in mind when it comes to handling client objections?
I think I get back to what I said earlier about personality styles. Everybody's different. And again, we don't act, but we have to be diverse in our behaviour. So, for example, some like a chat, small talk, others don't. And you must identify those who don't to get onto the business side straight away. You don't have to build rapport socially. You can build rapport by talking business early on. Some want you to take their time, some want you to hurry up. I think also have an agenda for your first meetings so that you do cover things off when you want to cover them off, particularly fees earlier products you're using earlier. So if you can tick off the things on your agenda, then you pretty well make sure that you've covered everything.
Thanks for your time today, Peter.